Good morning, everyone, and happy Friday. So it has been a wild week, and it's only getting more volatile as the week goes on. I know Peloton and Netflix are probably like the top two stocks that everyone is watching this morning, and they're not looking too good. I will say Peloton is looking a little bit better than Netflix. Peloton, Tom, I don't know if you've heard these rumors or not, but I'll say they're kind of out there, but there's a lot of rumors going on right now saying Apple might buy out Peloton. I'm not saying I believe them, but that's what's happening.
That would be a really cool thing if that did happen, but no, I have not even seen that rumor yet. But wow, I mean, that's pretty crazy. If they did, I mean, we just saw Microsoft make that big acquisition, or at least the announcement of that with Activision. So who knows, maybe Apple will come out and try to do something like that. Honestly, I think that'd be pretty smart. I don't know how much it's going to turn around the demand for these bikes, but in the end, though, I mean, I think if Apple had their name on this, it would do a lot better than it's doing right now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and I would just never really think of like Apple buying out Peloton, but then again, like maybe some like hedge fund has like so many shares of Peloton at like maybe like $80 a share, and they're trying to get this price back up. So who knows? But either way, just know that rumor is going around. And Tom, like it's even on Thinkorswim news. Like if you go to Peloton, it says Apple floated as potential buyer of Peloton, Mac rumor. So it's like you know the rumor has at least just a little bit of credibility when it's on Thinkorswim.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, actually, that it's on there. Like, I haven't seen that anywhere else today besides there. So that's pretty crazy. I didn't even see it on CNBC or anywhere else. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's a really crazy piece of news, Mike. And, we talked about Apple. They're getting into that electric car business. Now they're talking about doing this. Like, it seems like they're getting into everything lately, which is, good for them as a business. They keep innovating, getting into more stuff, which is great. And I wonder if Apple's stock is moving up off of this. It actually is. I mean, I'm not saying it's because of this rumor, but Apple's popping up. We have Peloton popping up, so it's looking pretty good as the start of today goes with this news coming out. There's not too much momentum here, but I will say Peloton's recovering up a little bit.
Yep. And keep in mind, guys, it's a complete rumor. But anyways, Tom, looking at Netflix, this is the other most popular stock. It's down over 20% today. And when you look at this, even on the daily chart, it's hard to believe this drop. A couple months ago, this stock was at 700. Now it's at 397 or 399, we can say. It just fell off a cliff, and it's a crazy market, Tom.
Yeah, it really is. And it fell all the way down to $400, even came slightly below that. I have a pretty big support here, right around 400 and then right at 390. So I'm really hoping that it holds up here over the next couple of days. But yeah, it's not looking good with that big drop. And I'll be honest, I never expected Netflix to take a drop like this on their earnings, especially with how Squid Game was out and everything like that. I just expected Netflix to do a little bit better, but wow, I mean, they dropped down so much. Their EPS wasn't that bad, but they just have been seeing some steady declines lately, and I know that they missed some subscriber goals. So hopefully they do a little bit better here. But wow, I mean, down 21%. They're such a big powerhouse. It's just hard to even fathom this.
Yep. All right, so we have Mike saying, good morning, this is the bottom, right? This has to be the bottom. I'm with you, Mike. I mean, I would think this has to be the bottom, especially on some of these growth plays. Of course, we always talk about DraftKings, but Tom, even if you look at Zoom really quickly, it's just been falling for months and months and months and months. It's if it falls more, when we're talking about DraftKings or Zoom, maybe Palantir, maybe Corsair, it's if they fall more, it's of course, it would make it an even better deal, but it's how much selling pressure does there have to be? Rates have been getting priced in for at least the past couple months, and now with everything going on in the market right now, it definitely doesn't help. But it's you just gotta wonder. It's when are people gonna stop freaking out? But then again, panic is contagious, so we'll see.
Yeah, it really is. I think we need some pretty good, some good news to turn this stuff around. It just sucks to see these stocks continuing to get hit like Netflix. And then We saw some banks get hit with earnings a couple weeks ago, and they took some pretty big drops like JP Morgan and stuff. And it just really keeps that sentiment on the lower side of the market. And, you'd hate to see the market keep falling like this, especially the growth plays. But yeah, I know what you're saying, Mike. We need a good turnaround. I think that Corsair has honestly been holding up pretty well the past couple weeks and couple months with it kind of double bottoming down here around $20. At least it's been holding up. We've been seeing some stocks like Zoom continually fall down below their support. So at least it's good that some of them are holding up, but I just cannot wait for the turnaround, Mike. And honestly, I was really hoping that yesterday we would see a bit of a turnaround, but we saw that nice green momentum come in early in the morning, and it seems like once we got off the stream, everything turned around on us.
I know, but I will say this, like, over like this past week, even though there still was a lot of selling pressure, the growth plays, a lot of them at least did perform better than some of the other like value plays. Like we could see like Apple's been taking a big hit, like Facebook. I think Boeing even took a decent hit. Yeah, Boeing took a decent hit, but like kind of like you already mentioned, Tom, Corsair has actually been holding in a very, very strong way. And that is a good sign because it shows that, at least buyers and sellers are kind of like evening out now. Before, I guess you could say this giant sell-off, like there was a lot more selling pressure than there was buying pressure. But considering we're seeing the stock at least like stagnant now, it shows that it's kind of evening out.
Yeah, definitely. And I cannot wait to hear their next earnings report. They're going to report all of those Black Friday numbers, all the holiday numbers and everything like that. And that's been one of my big things with Corsair is all those holiday stuff or all the holiday stuff going on because people really buy computer parts during those Black Friday deals, during those Christmas deals, the New Year deals and all that type of stuff. And that's just a really big time for the computer market. So I really hope that we see, Corsair, maybe even a couple of other ones like Logitech, LOGI, start to go back up. And we can see that Corsair has actually been holding their ground while Logitech has been turning over quite a bit, actually. And that even gives me more confidence in Corsair, considering that Logitech has, been around quite a lot longer.
True. Alrighty, so let's see. We have George saying Amazon below 3,000, Tom. Yeah, I actually saw a couple people saying that in the chat yesterday, but yeah, I mean, even the powerhouse Amazon is taking a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it really has. Down below 3,000, like you said, there's a lot of support at 3,000, and then below 3,000, I have a lot right around I'll say 2,800 to 2,900, but yeah, it's not good to see them down either. It's like, for some reason, the past couple days, we've seen the bigger value stocks drop off more than most stocks, which is kind of insane. I know that we're talking about Amazon here, but we can even go look at some of these big chip stocks like AMD. I know they're up today, but man, this week has been brutal for them. They fell through that 130 support and just tanked all the way down to 120. So it's been a pretty brutal week for most stocks. Like we said, though, it's good to see Corsair holding up. I know a few of the value stocks like KO probably did a little bit better this week. They went pretty much flat, but they're always slow movers, so we can kind of expect that.
True. Alrighty. We have Hunter saying Tesla into phones, Apple into electric cars. Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday, and it's kind of funny. But speaking of EVs, Tom, it looks like Lucid's doing not bad.
Yeah, they're actually in second place on my watch list to the upside. I have Peloton above them at 8% and Lucid's up 3%. Lucid's all over the place, though I will say it seems like 3% is a lot for most stocks, but with the way Lucid's been moving, 3% is only like 25% of yesterday's drop at the end of the day. So just keep that in mind. Lucid's pretty volatile, so 3% isn't, the end of the world or anything.
Yep. And then George also mentioned maybe us streaming all day long. Maybe. I mean, we've definitely we're always looking to like upgrade everything. So it might be something we do in the future, and like especially like in like crazy market times, we'll definitely have something that like extends the streams. But yeah, I mean, Tom, looking at the market today, how's the sentiment so far?
So far, with the overall market, it's pretty good. I mean, we are popping up a little bit. We're still in the red because of all the after hours and pre-market movement here. But I will say, ever since market open, we have been popping up a little bit. Of course, we're seeing some red come in now, but we're still up above like our opening price, I think, which is good. Well, actually, we're just below it. But Either way, though, you can see the pre-market low down there, right around 444. If we break below 444, I'll be pretty worried about the SPY, but I really hope that we end up holding up here and kind of going back up. A lot of stocks are in the green on my watch list. We do have a lot in the red as well, but I will say it's good to see some of these stocks recovering up, like Apple, for example. I know Apple was having some nice green momentum earlier, along with Microsoft. I really hope these ones recover because, man, they've been getting hit and just dragging the SPY down. So overall, the sentiment, I would just say, is kind of in the middle to slightly green, but honestly, it's probably just not too good. We've been seeing these big drops. Even yesterday, we had that nice move out of the SPY for the first couple hours, and then it just really sold off. So even though we're up right now, it could still turn over.
Yeah. Like, it's good from like an open perspective, like I guess you say from open perspective, but then again, that's only the past 9 minutes. So I guess like pre-market and the after hours kind of screwed it up. But we shall see. The day is still young. Looking at some of the biggest movers today. Give me 1 second. I'm just doing a quick scan. Let's see what we have. So it looks like, actually, Tom, looks like SoFi is actually leading my like breakdown scanner. It's down like 4.5% after a pretty great week.
Wow, yeah, this one's having some pretty bad moves to the downside. They fell below that major support there that it was kind of holding today in pre-market around $15. You could also maybe say 14.75. We just really broke that and started selling off in a pretty major way. We're almost back down to that support of yesterday around 14. We're like pretty close to 14.20, 14.25. So yeah, it's really starting to sell off. I know they had that great news that made them go up earlier in the week, Mike, and I thought that news of them becoming a bank might help them go on like a nice continuation here. But yeah, it looks like they're going to slow down. They're coming back for sure, and it definitely has momentum to the downside. Like, it's pretty crazy to see how volatile some of these stocks are getting.
Yep. All right, Tom, let's check out Coinbase really quickly. It's down 8% and it's trading lower as we speak. It's really breaking down right now. I'm looking for news. It looks like cryptos are taking a beating just, by themselves, Bitcoin and Ethereum mainly. But yeah, it looks like Coinbase is really, really taking a hit. Over like ever since they IPO, they went from highs of like 430 down to almost $200 a share.
Yeah, we're at all-time lows right now. This is insane to see out of Coinbase. I don't know if maybe there was a pre-market move before or something like that, but at least on the daily chart, we're hitting new lows right now, and this is crazy to see. I cannot believe that Coinbase is down this much. With that being said, Mike, like you said, crypto is getting destroyed. Like, let's go see how like Ethereum and some of these cryptos are looking today. And yeah, Ethereum really turned over. I know we were looking at it yesterday and it wasn't looking terrible, but now it's starting to really turn over to the downside. Let's see it on a 15-minute chart just so we can see a little bit more of how it's done since last night. And yeah, you can see it's pretty much straight down. If I go to the Bitcoin chart here, it's probably going to be the same way. Yeah, similar setup, straight down. Bitcoin's actually below 40 grand now, which is not a good sign. I know that was a pretty big support there.
Yeah. Crazy stuff, Tom. And what's interesting is like I know like even just like Robinhood and like Robinhood stock are, I don't want to say correlated to Bitcoin, but they like when Bitcoin and cryptos are doing good, like it's normally good for like Robinhood's like crypto business, because they make money off of the trading of it, So when, you hear headlines of Bitcoin to 70,000 or 100,000 or whatever, it gets more people trading. So what I'm curious of is this Bitcoin fall going to increase trading activity for Robinhood and Coinbase or decrease it? Like the logical decision would be it would increase it because people are buying the dip. But then again, we know that, even with stocks, like it's easier said than done. So I'm very curious. So far Robinhood's not looking too good though.
Yeah, it's not. And I really hope that this doesn't get too contagious. Like we've been talking about with DraftKings and a lot of these other growth stocks, the selling has been contagious lately. And I really
through that. So Tom, it looks like the market, it tried to run up, but we are facing a lot of, I guess you'd say, rejection this morning. The SPY tried to break past 446, and it just got smacked right back down. So the SPY is taking a little bit of a hit, and just looking at like multiple different stocks, Tom, like they're just basically at their low of day.
Yeah, they really are. It's bad to see. Even some that were running up yesterday in a pretty nice way are down. And Mike, even China's down. Like we can see BABA is starting to run lower again. We have NIO here falling off the board down to $28. I know NIO was looking really good yesterday morning, and wow, boy, did they turn over. They ended up going hitting new lows of the week just about. Like that's pretty insane actually to say that they turned over this hard from yesterday, because yesterday morning they were looking so good to the upside. I just cannot believe that they hit that resistance like that. But I mean, wow, and we're seeing it across the board. Like you said, my whole watch list is just getting redder and redder. We have Matterport down here in the red, down 6%. We have Disney moving in sympathy with Netflix to the downside. Like, look at poor Disney down here, down below $140. I didn't think that I'd be saying that anytime soon, but wow, they took a pretty big hit with Netflix. Not good. And then we even have some other, I'm not going to say streaming services, but we have Roku out here also taking a hit, down 5%. They had a big drop yesterday too. It's just, man, these streaming services slash, everything is just not looking good.
Yeah. Wow. Like, it's kind of interesting that, like, I know that, like, Nancy kind of loaded up on Disney, Roblox, and a couple other ones relatively recently, and, like, these stocks are taking a pretty decent sized hit. So what I'm curious about is in her next filing, if there's information related to if she hedged and how she hedged. You know what I mean? It would be interesting to know. You know what I mean? Because I know it's been a rough market for basically everyone to the upside, everyone who's playing stocks to the upside. So it'd be interesting to see if and how she hedges, because I mean, we're just seeing like a complete free fall right now with so many different groups of stocks and just the market overall. And the bad thing is obviously no one likes to see this, but at the same time, like, the bottom you would think has to be near, right? Like these stocks can only fall so much more, you would think, right? Like, so we will see, Tom.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it ends up going. I definitely think we're near the end, especially with some of the growth plays. With Apple and a few of these stocks that are, that have been powerhouses for the past few years, I feel like they could still dip down a little bit more. Maybe Apple might come down to this like 160 support. We might see like AMD or Nvidia keep pulling back maybe, but I'm really looking for a turnaround out of some of these beaten down plays. Like, I know Twitter's not everyone's favorite, but I know Twitter's another one that's been beaten down. Snapchat, PayPal, even like Upstart, Affirm. Like, we've been talking about a lot of these stocks a lot lately as well. They're kind of in setups very similar to plays like Unity almost, and even almost like Enphase. Enphase is also another one down here at some really good levels. And, it would be interesting to see if she hedged, Mike. And what I'm really interested to see is if she hedged with something like a TLT or something like that. I think that'd be very interesting actually if she did, because looking at like some of Michael Burry's plays and stuff, like the government, they have such an impact on, like rates and different stuff like that. I'm sure that, sometimes like whenever Powell has to like testify to the Senate and stuff, of course, sometimes those people have like some arguments for him and stuff. So we'll have to see how it ends up going. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see how she hedged it either. And just thinking in my head, I'm just trying to come up with like some hypotheticals of like what she would do. Like, I'm wondering if she would just like start to get some puts, or maybe, like I said, try to play something with rates, or I'm really curious.
Yep, me too. Alrighty, so looking at some of the biggest movers right now, Tom, we covered most of them earlier, but there's also a lot of movement out of CLF. I know we don't talk about this stock too much. It's down like 4% though. I don't know, I just figured I'd bring it up considering that it is on my like low of day screener. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a random play, to be honest. We basically never talk about this one, but it's breaking lower. Honestly, at this point, I don't even know if it's worth the short or put play, because it's been falling continuously for like the past 2 weeks, and then at the same time we're kind of bouncing off this $18 support.
Yeah, there is a pretty big support, like right there around $17.50, $18. There's been multiple bounces like all around this area over the past like I should say over the past like 6 months. So looking at it though, I will say CLF has been going down a lot. It definitely has that downwards momentum, Mike, and I'm not sure if it'll be able to continue down over the next few days. Like you said, it's definitely starting to fall off the table, but It's definitely has a lot of momentum, so it could be good. Like maybe if you see it fall below 1788 today, it could be a good play to the downside. And this is a good steel company, right?
I don't even follow them too much. Let me take a look at them. I was mainly
Yeah,
looking
I
at them.
believe that they're like a steel company.
Yeah, I was mainly looking at them for a shorter term play, like maybe like a quick day trade or something like that. But yeah, you're right. Definitely a steel company. Basic materials is the sector. Steel is the industry. Some other data on them is they have like a 9% short float, which is, again, it's nothing crazy, but it's okay. But yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
not too bad, and it's actually setting up kind of like X.
yeah, that is true. So yeah, I mean, initially I was looking at it for like a quick day trade on a technical like basis, but after looking at it more, it's just I feel like it's not like a great setup.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it falls below 1788, it could maybe be played as a good play to the downside. But yeah, who knows? Like you said, it's been going down so much that I'd almost be ready for maybe a bit of a bounce back to the upside with this one. But yeah, I mean, lots of these, like I should say, lots of these commodity plays have been going down, like CLF, X. I'm surprised to see the price of steel fall off the way it was. For a while there, steel was going crazy, and it's obviously it had to slow down at some time. So I'm glad to see that it slowed down. And Mike, the one thing that we looked at a lot was slash LBS for lumber, and lumber was exploding there, and then it came right back. So I wonder if steel kind of looks like this on the chart.
True. Well, how's gold and silver looking? Because those have been looking pretty good so far.
Yeah, they were looking pretty good, especially like earlier in the week. And I will say it wasn't looking too good yesterday in after hours and then today in pre-market, but it came right back up, which is good. And I kind of like it. I know that it's been pretty explosive for the past couple of weeks, so it might start to slow down a little bit. But if we break up above this high of like 172.50 or 172.60, I can start to see gold getting a really good move. And, gold looks a little bit flatter. But if we go look at SLV, they've been staircasing up this week in a very nice way. So SLV almost looks a little bit more explosive, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, let me check something. So SLV has an implied volatility of like 29% in gold. Okay, that definitely makes sense. So SLV has an implied volatility of 29%, while GLD only has an implied volatility of like 14 or 15%. So silver or SLV is definitely more volatile than GLD. So that's interesting, and I guess you can say expected. But yeah, Tom, I mean, I'm just trying to find some like potential plays for today. There's a lot of selling pressure. I mean, the only thing that is kind of interesting, I guess you can say, is while we have a bunch of stocks just bleeding, Intel's actually holding up pretty well, and it's actually in the green.
I actually saw that today. They were up at the top of my watch list, or they're like in the middle, but yeah, I mean they're holding up pretty well. It's kind of surprising, sometimes Intel's been getting hit quite a bit lately. I know that they were going up with some pretty good news a couple weeks ago, but they've been tumbling right back over, and we're seeing AMD and stocks go down. Sometimes Intel is like an inverse to AMD. So if AMD continues down like this, maybe it'll be good news for Intel. Intel might start to pop. It doesn't happen every time. Like we saw yesterday, Intel kind of sold off with AMD, but sometimes they inverse each other, and it's kind of cool to see how they're moving today. I know Intel's been one of my favorite setups. I own shares of them, and I'm really just waiting for these shares to start to really fly. Like I'm in down here around like $48, so I'm not too worried about it right now, but it's definitely a long-term play, and they do have earnings coming up actually. Looks like on the 26th, so sometime next week. We'll have to definitely take a look at those.
Sounds good. Alrighty. So, Tom, like you tell me, what setups are you watching? What are you seeing today that's interesting? What movement are you watching? What potential plays do you have on your watch list?
Some of these slower movers are actually starting to climb up. We have Clorox climbing back into the green today, which is good. They're up 1.5%. That's pretty good for a company like them. This stock has been one of my favorites over the past few months. It's been moving in a pretty good way, especially whenever you look at growth stocks. Even stocks like Apple lately have been going down. So I've really liked this one. I also really like KHC Kraft Heinz. This one's also been pretty explosive over the past few weeks. Now, both of these are pretty slow movers, but I will say for shares, I think they're pretty good. Or even if you just short some puts, I think it can be decent. You're not going to get good premiums for it, but either way, though, I think that shares are the way to go with these, especially in a market like this. we're seeing stocks drop, we're seeing consumer pricing go up, and I feel like that these companies are going to be able to raise prices and really have some pretty good movement here. So I'm definitely eyeing these ones up. They're up quite a bit today alone. And then Mike, we have just a lot of the value stocks up today. We have McDonald's in the green coming right back. Pepsi is up. KO's up again. It's a pretty good day for the value stocks, I'll say. But once again, though, another bad day for growth.
Yep. All righty. Let's see. So the stock that's performing the worst on my watch list today is Disney. Disney's down 6.5%. It had lows of $138.06. It's getting smacked, and it looks like it's moving in sympathy with Netflix. But Disney's been one of those plays where it's like a solid company, solid stock. It was at a great level, and it still is. But just the market is just smacking it lower, and it's unfortunate to see. You know what I mean? Like, it's solid company, lots of growth potential, and like, obviously, like, they're not like a brand new company. Like, they've been around for some time. They're in like a decent fundamental position, and it just is unfortunate to see this type of selling pressure. But at the same time, it's like the lower it falls, the better the opportunity for a longer term play.
Yeah, you're really right there. The more it falls, the better the opportunity. And one thing that I still like about Disney, Mike, and I know me and Hunter talk about the 1,000 SMA quite a bit. We're still up above that, which is good news. The last time Disney went on a huge explosive run, we can see they actually bounced like right around that 1,000 SMA. I actually have it circled from a long time ago. We bounced right off that SMA, right off support, and ended up exploding. And as we go down, Mike, we are actually starting to fill this gap almost on the daily chart. So if we start to fill the gap on Disney between 133 and like 127, I'm definitely going to look at this one for the longer term. And I'm already looking at it for the long term, but I'll just look to add to the positions down here. I think it's such a great opportunity. And to be honest, I think a lot of traders, they might have been looking at these gaps and, kind of waiting on Disney. So looking at it, once it fills the gap, I'm definitely going to start to, look at this one for a nice, like, long-term position.
Gotcha. All right. And then we have Alex saying, do you see any good support for coin as it falls? The problem is that it's breaking low, so there's not really like any support. You know what I mean? Like right now the stock's at 194.61, and this is the lowest it's ever been. So like there's no past data, which makes it really hard to find support levels in a situation like this. The only thing we can do at this point is go to like half and whole dollar marks. So like if we went to, right now the stock's at like 194, we can say there's support at 190 and there's support at 185 and 180. And I guess you could say like there's like minor supports like in between that, like at 199, maybe 198, just like levels like that. But it's just hard to judge support levels when we're at all-time lows.
Yeah, it really is, because you're just really going to be guessing unless you're doing like what Mike said, just picking like a nice even number. Like he said, 190 will probably be big, 185, 180. You would think maybe 200. You can see on the 1 minute chart here how this stock, even though it was getting destroyed, you can see on the 1 minute candle, it hit around 200, had some movement there, some consolidation before it finally broke. And I think that shows that 200 was even holding up as a bit of intraday support. But yeah, it's not looking good here. I would definitely eye up like 190 and then 185 below that. It's just like he said, it's almost impossible to guess that on a stock that's moving down like this. And, we've seen it happen before. And, like almost like the first time Coinbase was falling, lots of people were looking at $200 even, and it got pretty close. So, if you look at those even numbers, sometimes it can be a good thing.
Yeah. And like the main theory behind it is because, people, and you would think, well, it's mainly people, but people like really, I guess you could say place orders at like major whole dollar levels, you can say. For example, let's say your average investor is looking to invest into Coinbase, right? And they see it fell from 350 down to 250, and now it's at 192. They say, all right, I'll place a buy order at 190, or I'll place a buy order at 185. And when you have multiple like limit orders stacked up at a certain level, or you have multiple orders coming in at a certain level, that's just kind of how the theory works. But then again, it is, as we said a couple times, it is pretty hard to judge when we are at all-time lows. So,
Yeah, it really is. And Mike, I actually have some really good news here for Intel actually to bring up. And this is actually pretty big, actually. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Intel is actually building a new chip plant in Ohio. And it's actually, they committed to building a new $20 billion factory. So that's pretty big. You know, I know Intel's been getting hit with their stock quite a bit. Now they're going to unleash a $20 billion factory. Like, man, it seems like they're really innovating. I know over the past few years, I've seen Intel been talked about quite a bit because apparently the US government likes Intel because they're made in the United States, and they're trying to get Intel to, you know, rival some of these Chinese chip companies. And I guess that's a really good thing to do. And it's pretty cool to see them building that factory. That's probably why they're moving up today.
Yep. I actually read that on CNBC, but yeah, definitely would explain why it's moving up. And, you know, obviously it's not like it's skyrocketing, but it's holding up better than a very large majority of the stocks right now, or other stocks. So
yeah, and honestly, they are going to be dropping 20 billion. So who knows? It might even end up hurting their stock for a while.
We shall see. And then let's see. We have George saying Palantir below 14. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's at 13.95. It's down 5% today. Not looking good for the short term, but then again, if you believe in the company, the lower it goes, the better the opportunity. So shares would be... Oh, here's another thing too. Like with all of the stocks just getting destroyed lately, I know as options traders, like we're thinking, all right, it might be time to buy calls, but the problem is that like options are very expensive right now, even if they don't seem like it. For example, right now Palantir is at 14, right? And here, actually, let me make an even better example, Tom. Let's head over to Peloton, okay? This implied volatility is much higher on a relative basis and an absolute basis. Some people are going to see Peloton at its current price point and say, I want to play to the upside, which is totally fine. You know, shares can be awesome. But buying calls might not be the smartest decision considering how high implied volatility is. It's like if I went out to January 19th of 2024 and we looked at like the 90 strike calls, Tom, you're still going to be paying like $250 for it for the 90 strike calls. The stock's at 25. So literally options are very, very expensive right now because of how high implied volatility is. And Peloton is not the only example. So the only reason I bring this up is because if you're looking to buy the dip, it would be smarter to get shares. And this is coming from someone who loves options. So shares would probably be your best bet because options are unfortunately very overpriced right now.
Yeah, and you know, if Peloton, if their IV was down here at maybe like, you know, 60%, maybe 70%, it might be okay. But, you know, it's double that. It's at 150%. So, yeah, definitely look at getting shares with it. And one good thing with Peloton is, you know, looking at Peloton, just a few of these beaten down stocks, they're actually approaching some pretty major supports down here. So maybe we'll start to see it hold up soon. And it's not just Peloton, though. Lots of other stocks are also approaching supports. Like even if we go to look at something like PayPal, for example, you know, they're getting pretty close to some of their supports from, you know, back in 2020. So that's good to see at least.
Yep. And then we have Vicky saying Intel has factories in China. Yes, they do. We were just pointing out that they are building a new one in the United States, which is a good sign. Then we have Manny saying, I have puts in KO. Thoughts? I don't know, Tom. I mean, I don't think that's a great decision, considering that value stocks, like even with the market getting destroyed, value stocks are not only just holding their ground, they're actually uptrending. So it's like, normally, like when you're looking to play puts, like you want to target the weakest stocks, and like when you're trying to buy calls, you're trying to target the stocks with like the most, like I guess you'd say like upwards momentum or best sentiment. But I've tried buying puts on like value stocks in the market, like I guess you'd say a market correction before. It didn't work well for me, but it can work well now. It's just like you're fighting against a pretty hard target because a lot of the money that we're seeing flowing out of these big companies like Apple, Facebook, even some of the growth plays right now, the money's flowing into these value plays like KO, PG, and others.
Yeah, it really is. And looking at KO, it actually just popped above that all-time high of $60, which was a pretty big resistance. And I will say, as long as we're staying up above maybe 60 or 59.50, I really think the KO might start holding its ground, Mike. And, a lot of big investors, where do they put their money in times of uncertainty? They generally go to the slower moving, safer stocks in the market. And KO is one of those, along with Pepsi and a few other stocks like that. They're pretty safe. They generally go up for the longer term. Even if they take hits in COVID like they did, they generally come right back. So that's pretty good. Like if you look at KO on a max weekly chart, I mean, it's been pretty safe. Of course, in '08, it had some issues. Of course, with COVID, it had some issues. But besides those two times, it's pretty much just been pretty safe staircases to the upside or just really slow, safe movement. So I think it's really good to get into these maybe for shares for the longer term, Mike. Obviously, it's not good to be buying at the top like this, but I feel like that's what a lot of these bigger institutions and a lot of the bigger investors are doing right now, which is what's pushing some of these up. And my main thing is we just broke above 60. If we hold up above this, we might start to see a pretty good run. Some good examples lately have been Ford. They broke that high there around $18. They hovered around 20 for a long time. Once they broke 20, they just really exploded. I really hope to see that KO starts to explode since they broke that high there.
Yeah, and the money is definitely flowing into KO and Procter and Gamble and other ones. Like all of the selling pressure we're seeing right now, all of that selling. The money part of it leaves the market, but then also part of it flows into other areas of the market. And just like you said, Tom, that's why we're seeing KO and other value plays rise up. So good stuff there. And then we have Keisha saying EA is actually green today. So yeah, it is surprisingly. So that's good to see. I mean, I know that Activision acquisition was definitely good for EA2 as it moved up. But yeah, it's nice to see this, Tom. It looks like we're kind of channeling right now. Let me look at an intraday. So it looks like we're channeling right between 138 and like 141.
Yeah, we really are. That's actually kind of a pretty cool channel to draw here. And if we end up breaking this like to the upside or the downside, I think it can make for some pretty good trading today and tomorrow, to be honest. Like there's a pretty big resistance up around like you said, 141, 142, right around there. If we end up breaking those, I think it can make for a pretty good breakout trade. And maybe if it could even be a good play to the downside if we see it fall below 138. So definitely eye it up. I like the channel. And honestly, if it stays between this, I might call it out as a day trade in the Discord on Monday.
Yep. Alrighty. And then we have, let's see, Alex saying, thoughts on KHC for a swing play. I'm holding KHC 37 strike calls for March 4th of 2022. It hasn't moved big this week, but the market has been dragging it down. So he said 37 strikes for March. So he has time. He's at the money. I mean, it's looking pretty good. I mean, yes, it hasn't moved big this week, but compared to everything else, I would say the movement is definitely like respectable because you look at almost any other like play and it probably fell this week. So I would think it looks pretty good, Tom.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good too. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is maybe the time. I will say it could consolidate here for maybe another month or so. It has before, we can see it's definitely consolidated for a few months right around this $35 to $37 level before. So I really hope that it starts to move pretty soon in your case. But yeah, I mean, I'm in it for shares, so I don't really have to, worry about the timing too much of it. But I will say though, I like that setup, and it's definitely better than something that expires in, maybe 2 weeks or something. So I like it personally. I hope it moves by the time of expiration, of course.
Yeah. These value plays, while they do move, like they're just different to play than like a tech stock. Like yeah. With KHC, for example, like we might see it move up to, I don't know, $40, but it might take 2 months to do that. Where with a growth stock, it might happen in like a week. So I don't know. There's definitely give and take with playing value plays. I would say overall there's more pros than cons in this market, and I would say that you're at the money. You have, what is it, 40 days or so? What is it? Yeah, you have like 42 days, so you have some time. So I would say it's a pretty decent play for everything going on. So looking good. And then we have Meme saying, I got puts on AMD, thoughts. I've been really liking chip stocks to the downside since like Thanksgiving. They're finally starting to tank down. I'm I'm not sure when you bought those. Like if you bought like a day or two ago, that's good to see. But if you're just buying in today, then I would be just a little bit concerned, not because of the direction, but because of the options pricing. We could see over the past couple months, the implied volatility on AMD went from like 30% up to 67%. So like I'm relatively confident that this, I guess you can say selling pressure will continue on AMD. That does not mean it's going to tank down to $100, but it's just the main point that like overall you would think that there would be I guess you'd say more dropping than rising in the short term. But anyways, my just main concern is the implied volatility. He said he bought in since Tuesday at the 130 strike, so he's in the money, Tom. So that's good. I don't know your expiration is the only problem, but he's been in for a couple days. He's in the money, which is really good. So I mean that does make me feel a little bit, I guess you'd say, more confident.
Yeah, that's actually really good. If he got in before the stock started dropping, so that's really good. He should be in the green then and have a little bit of room to work with, which is really good. You have so much more I should say more options to do what you want whenever you're winning like this. Of course, you can maybe trim some position here and lock in some gains. You can maybe roll it out. You can do whatever you want. You're in the game. You're in the driver's seat right now, I should say. So that's good. I will say on AMD, there's a pretty big support here at $120. Now, I do expect AMD to fall below 120. Looking at it on the daily setup, on the 1 year daily, of course, I mean, it's been really tanking off lately. I love how yesterday it fell below that big support around like 125. I thought that was key with the way we dropped below that. We also fell below the 100 SMA, which is good in my opinion. And honestly, if we fall below this 120 support, I could see AMD possibly going down to retest $100 even. But keep in mind, this 120 support's pretty big. To me, it looks like on the 5-minute candle, it's on the 5-minute chart, it's been really holding this today and yesterday and after hours. So I really hope that it breaks below 120 for you. And I honestly see it happening. I just don't know. It might not happen today. It might consolidate here, but just be careful of 120. I'm definitely eyeing that up.
Okay, so he said that he forgot his exact expiration, but he knows it's sometime in March. I think the best thing to do in this situation is to limit your risk, but at the same time allow for some more potential gain. And the main way to do that is, so you said you have the 130 strike for, let's just say, March 18th, right? You're up on the position now. So let's say you bought the 130 strike put for, I don't know, let's say $1,000, right? This is a totally random example. What you would want to do is go to that same exact expiration. You would want to go to the same exact expiration. You want to look at the puts again, and you want to find an option that is further out of the money, right? So you want to look for an option with a strike price of $130 or lower, because you already have the 130 strike put. So like, let's say you look at the 120 strike puts. If you can sell those puts for an equal amount that you bought your 130 strike put for, you will be completely risk-free. If the stock closes below the short put strike price, you'll make an extra, I mean, it depends on the spread, but you can make an extra like $1,000 or so. At the same time, you'd have no risk. So it's a little bit of an advanced strategy, but long story short, if you can find an option that's further out of the money, the same expiration, same type, so a put, and you can sell to open that for an equal amount of money that you paid to buy the 130 strike put, you'll be risk-free with the potential to make more. So if you have any questions on that, just let me know. It's just a potential idea, because it's kind of like the middle ground of taking profits and letting it ride.
Yeah, it's actually a really good way to go, Mike. Like you said, it makes your position risk-free, which is awesome. Like that means if AMD continues to fall below 120, I mean, you're going to really be in the driver's seat then. So yeah, I mean, it's really good that you're winning on this. It gives you so many different options to do something like Mike said. And if you need help, go ahead and join the Discord. I'll throw the link up there just in case you're not in there. But if you are, you can just ask us some questions in there about it.
Yeah, and the link should be in the description down below too. So definitely check that out. We have George saying DraftKings below 20. My gosh, Tom. I mean, every single day, growth stocks just sell off more and more and more. I mean, it sucks for short-term movement. It's just like it's literally a market crash for growth companies. Like, I know the market itself is holding up well, but growth stocks are crashing and they have been crashing, and it's been a tough experience, really has been. But again, like we've been saying a couple times throughout the stream, sucks for the short term, but it'll be great for a long term opportunity.
Yeah, this really does. It's not good for the short term. It's definitely bad. Like you said, it's good for the longer term. But man, I'm really curious here. We're below $20. I hate to say it, Mike, but who knows? We might be a new all-time lows soon on DraftKings. I mean, wow, we're only $3 away. With the way we move this week, if we move like that next week, we'll be below that. So, definitely not good. I really hope to see a turnaround sometime soon. Maybe their next earnings will be good. I'm really hoping that their next earnings looks like they're on February 18th. I'm really hoping that they end up, maybe making the stock turn around or something. I really was hoping, Mike, that maybe that New York legalization news would help them out a little bit more, but it looks like it hasn't. It didn't really get the momentum that it could have off of that. So yeah, we're still moving to the downside. Definitely not good here, man. My longer term positions are getting smacked. I know that. Looking at DraftKings though, like we've been saying though, Mike, it's not just them. Unfortunately, we're seeing lots of other ones down today too, like Roblox, RUN, CHPT, like you name it. If it's in the growth sector, it's probably down today. Enphase down 6%. We even have good old AMC, Mike. Holy, AMC is down to $16.60. Like, we're getting pretty far below $20 now at this point. I think we can call this a really good break now.
16, Tom. Wow.
I thought it'd be at 500 now. Like, what's going on?
Jeez, holy crap, that's crazy. I don't
I
even
never
have words
expected
for
to
it.
see this.
Jeez, yeah, I didn't even have words to say for that one. Now, that one, I don't know. That's crazy, Tom. Lots of selling pressure right now, and it's definitely contagious. So that kind of, I don't know, it's not good. But Tom, with that being said, actually we have a couple more comments. So we have Alex and Wagner looking for levels on the SPY. We have Wagner saying, "What's the next support for the SPY?" And then yeah.
All right, so with the SPY today, I'm really eyeing up this 444 level as a good resistance. I know that we just broke through that and you're asking for support, but definitely eye up 444. As far as support though to the downside, let's go look at like the 180-day, 1 hour chart just to see if we can see a little bit better of levels here. Yeah, it looks like 440 is definitely going to be the main next large one. I was thinking that 440 would be because it's a nice psychological level too, but yeah, it looks like there has been a lot of bounces there right around that 440 level. And as we can see, I circled this 450 support on my chart last night whenever I was helping somebody, and boy, it fell through 450 in a pretty major way at the end of the day there. So definitely not looking good here on the SPY, Mike. I could see it keep going down, and like I said, 440 is the next support I'm eyeing up.
Gotcha. Alrighty. And then we have Vicky saying NASDAQ is 14% off of all-time highs. I think we're close to the bottom, but what do I know? So yeah, I mean, it's been tough, Vicky. But again, as long as you're buying quality companies over the long term, they should do it pretty well. Of course, it depends on the price you pay for them too. But and then she said correction, 16% is what it's off from all-time highs. And then we have Raymond saying, should I just close my eyes and short coin in Roblox? I mean, maybe for the short term, Raymond, but for the long term, I don't think that'd be a good idea. One, there are two companies with a lot of growth potential, but then I would say the main thing is like, at this point, it's like, I feel like you kind of missed most of the opportunity where the point is like, your risk is greater than your potential reward. Like, for example, Coinbase fell from 360 down to 189 in a couple months, and it can fall lower, but it's like, I don't know if that's the smartest decision. Like, maybe for like a short-term play, it could be good, but I don't know if you're planning on holding for like a week or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It might be good for the short term, like you said, but for if you're looking at it for a couple weeks out or something, I don't really see it continuing to sell off, at least going straight down for that amount of time. It might continually go lower, but I just don't see it just, having like a straight, like a falling knife pattern or anything like that. I could definitely see it maybe going down, but it might like consolidate a little bit. one thing I'd be worried about is that Coinbase had such a big drop today. Sometimes we see stocks pop back up after drops like this. So I don't think I'd close my eyes and short it yet. But, honestly, Mike, if we're looking at Coinbase and all these other things to the downside, why don't we go look at something like AMD and maybe short that? Like, look at AMD actually falling below the 120 support. This one might be a pretty good one, actually. And, these chip stocks have been getting hit quite a bit. And as we can see, like, this 120 support's been pretty big. So who knows? If we start breaking this, it might fall in a major way again.
We shall see. So, Tom, any last-minute plays before we wrap up the stream?
Man, it looks like the only things to the upside today are the value companies, besides Peloton, which is in the green just because of their crazy movement yesterday. But man, it's crazy to see all these stocks falling down again. Like I just pointed out with the last comment there, I'm definitely going to be eyeing up AMD puts. We're starting to fall below 120 in a pretty good way. I know that there might be a little bit of support around like 1950 or something too. So definitely eye it up for a bit of a fake out. But I really hope that once we break 120, AMD starts to make a pretty good move down. There's been lots of consolidation here, so I really think that this is a big support. Definitely eye this one up maybe for a move to the downside today. If I was going to day trade something, this is probably what I'm looking at. And then also, Mike, I just wanted to point out Netflix one more time. Like, oh, it's crazy to see how much this one went down. And I feel like Netflix will be a pretty good pickup for shares sometime soon. I mean, no one expected this one to drop 25%. Like, what's going on?
Yep. Crazy stuff, guys. Crazy stuff. But with everything being said, thank you guys all so much for joining. I just want to personally thank everyone for joining. So thank you, Keisha, Wagner, Alex, Vicky, Jay, Hunter, Mike, George, Manny, let's see, Meme, let's see, anyone else? Raymond, Wagner, and I think we got everyone. So thank you guys so much for joining. The market is getting destroyed. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. We hope you have an amazing rest of your day.